So we are now officially rolling under the stairs in the basement.
Okay. June 17th. What is that?
That is the midpoint of June and a couple of days before Father's Day. Anything else?
Milestone.
Wixie anniversary. I started June 17th, 24 years ago. Wow.
How many years have you been in radio?
When did I start? 86 was my first full-time job. Yeah. I mean, I kind of dabbled in some YMCA. There was a YMCA-owned radio station in St. Louis, and I had this little once-a-week air shift for like 2 hours that I did with my friend Tim, who is still in radio. But yeah.
Are you still in radio?
Sure. Well, I have my fingers in radio because I publish content for other radio people. I've been writing for other radio people for years, and I sell them my material, the same stuff I used. So
24 years here in this community here in Champaign. What was your first show on Wixie like? Do you remember it?
Did you prepare questions? You did. That's very good. Yeah, you got
only a few.
Yeah. So what was the question again? My first show?
Yeah, your first show on Wixie.
I don't remember the show. I was probably nervous. I remember my co-host at the time, Kevin. I remember the studio because it was actually down the hall from where the current Wixie studio is because there's been some remodeling over the years. I don't really remember the first show. I just remember kind of just the technical details of it. Barely. Yeah.
So during the 24 years when you were on air, any regrets? Anything
you're jumping right in.
Well, anything that you did during that time that said?
Yeah, so there's one regret that I always come back to when I think about, because, over 24 years, you'd think there would be something stupid that was said. And I'm sure there were. I'm sure people who listened regularly thought, oh, that was stupid. But I remember a long time ago, this was like in the first couple of years probably, somebody called the show and said, hey, we lost our horse. Could you get the word out that we lost this horse? We live in this area here in wherever it was in East Central Illinois. And my co-host at the time and I were just laughing and we're like, how do you lose a horse? We were just kind of making fun of it. And they ended up like calling and complaining, and I think there were some people upset. And in hindsight, I was like, you can lose a horse, you can lose anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, I suppose it's harder to lose a giraffe. It's harder to lose a semi-truck, but I just, it wasn't an inanimate object that was lost. It was something personal. It was somebody's horse, and so they had a relationship with it, and we were kind of poking fun at the fact that they lost their horse. And
like a dog.
Like a dog or a cat or a horse. And so I just have always like kind of felt that's just always stuck with me as, wow, I was so immature that we made fun of somebody losing their horse. And I don't know, I think that I'm assuming they found it. You don't lose a horse for very long, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was probably my only regret, I think.
That's not a very big regret.
No,
I wouldn't think that was a regret.
What were you thinking? What were you hoping I would say?
Well, sometimes you might slip and say something on the air that maybe it definitely was unintentional. But.
Right. No, we were fortunate. And not ironically, but interestingly, like 3 months or 4 months ago, there was a email that came from the corporate management about, watch what you say on the air. Don't even cuss while you're off air. And
I remember that.
Yeah, and so and if you say something bad, you will be fired instantly. We had an incident where somebody said something bad, and now the station's being fined $3,000 or something. And we'd always talk about having what's called a dump button in the studio. Mm-hmm. And so basically, when the show is being done, it's actually being delayed because everything we're doing, the music and everything, goes into this digital box behind me in the studio, and it delays everything by 8 seconds. And then if something stupid is said, I just hit this green button. I mean, it's a big lit green button. Hit that, and everything that was recorded in delay time over the past 8 seconds gets dumped. And the listener would just hear a bleep. The listener would hear like literally would just be like 8 seconds just vanished. So interestingly, never had any issues with something like that being said on the air. None of us on the show. But we did have a dump button put in a few months ago in case we did. So
good.
Yeah.
That would be good for me.
What?
Because I might often say something that inappropriate.
Like you should always have a dump button on you? Like
Yes.
if you say something, well, no, that would be both of us because we're married and we say inappropriate things sometimes. So marriages should have dump buttons. Like you say something, but everything you're saying is 8 second delayed, and then you go, let me hit the dump button before she hears it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
There you go.
okay.
So this one here, over the course of years, I have asked you what you have been the most proud of or the most memorable moment. And 2 years ago, you shared one with me, but now that 24 years have passed.
All right. What did I share with you 2 years ago? Because you have...
That was Honor Flight.
Yes, and Honor Flight is still the most amazing, memorable moment, I think, of the 24 years. That was... people know in this area Honor Flight. Honor Flight is a national organization, or there are chapters of Honor Flights, and there's still some, I think, going on in Illinois. But the general manager at the time had seen a story like on 60 Minutes about Honor Flight someplace else and how it got started, and he'd never heard of it. Most of us had never heard of it. And he's like, oh, we're doing this. So he brings somebody in from Honor Flight Springfield and says, tell my staff about it. And the Honor Flight guy told us about it. And hey, it costs $50,000 to charter a 737, and that's what it costs. And the general manager right there, Alan Beck, in the room, everybody there, he said, we're doing it. We're going to raise $50,000. We're doing it.
Well, that was one of them. And recently, it's been the community breakfast, turning the show over to your nonprofits in the community here.
Right.
That has been another one. But now that it's kind of come to, there's some closure to this, now you can sit back and look. Granted, it's only been like a week and a half.
Right.
What is it today that you think of that pops into your head that's pretty memorable and you're pretty proud of?
I mean, this is kind of a simple answer, but it's the 24 years because it's so rare. We have a dog that's going crazy. Hi, dog. Hi, Darbs.
Hi, Darbs.
You can leave her. She's fine. You want to be on the radio? So we're in this little bitty closet under the stairs, and she wants to be on my lap. Come here. Okay.
And
all
too
right.
bad we don't have a video.
Can you sniff? Can you? So 24 years because it's rare in radio. It used to be more common, but it's just rare. I mean, 24 years in any job is pretty incredible.
Well,
But
this week, just listening to the gentleman that's in St. Louis that had put 38 years in with the radio station.
I listened to him when I was growing up. Guy Phillips. He was on Phillips and
Company.
Right. Well, but it started out as I think Phillips and Wall or something. He had a partner. You don't know this, but he had a partner. And then the partner retired or decided to go out on his own, took a different radio job in St. Louis, wanted to do his own thing. So he became Phillips and Company. Guy Phillips did. So, yeah, he was at Y98 in St. Louis for decades, and then he shifted and became a talk show host for the last couple of years. So, yeah, he's retiring after almost 40 years in St. Louis on the radio. So I'm just proud of the fact that the show kept evolving, and I've had multiple co-hosts, and they've all been great, and we've evolved the show, all of us, and it was just a great run, and there were proud moments in there, things like Honor Flight, and silly things like the Undy 500 when we
Right. Well, and when I met you, it was the 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, the drive
Yeah,
that
it
went
was right
through
around there.
where the assembly hall is, that
we
drive.
raised $250,000 over the course of like a day and a half, and I think that money, I think we sent it to New York to buy like part of a fire truck or something like that. But that was the audience.
Right.
You know, that was the listeners. I just remember the nonstop line of cars, and that was the same thing with Honor Flight. When we said we were doing this, we were like, "Oh my gosh, we got to raise $50,000." And I remember going out and soliciting businesses, the general manager Alan and I, door to door, asking for 500 here, 1,000 there, and a lot of people said no, or didn't fully understand it, or just didn't, couldn't commit, or they said, "Let me think about it." But no matter what, we had this fundraising day on the calendar. It seems like it was at I Hotel, the parking lot.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but man, the day we started it, and it just went bonkers, and we raised enough to do 3 honor flights.
So, what will you miss the most?
This talking about current events, talking to community people, people in the community, just getting on the air and just talking. People like to be a part and crave. We know this because of the pandemic. We just miss conversations. We miss hanging out with friends. And so it's been great that I've been able to still go in and talk to Melissa, or was, every morning. And listeners could hear that conversation. And so even if they were alone, they heard us chatting about stuff that we like to chat about, my quirks, her kids. And so I'll miss that. And getting up early and kind of being there and getting going. I still get up early, as you know. I'm still up and I'm at my computer doing some writing.
So during this time, who did you interview or meet that was the most famous?
Probably.
Or had an impact on you? I mean, maybe that's a better question. The greatest impact on you.
I don't know about impact. Some of the greatest impacts are people like the Honor Flight guys, and men and women, because we're on the flight with them, and they're just humble. Some of them had never flown before. These are people that went through hell, and we're flying into Washington, D.C. to see this monument that rightfully they should have seen years before. The most famous person I think I met, besides like Garth Brooks, who was incredibly, that's, when Garth was in town and he did, when was he in? He did a bunch of shows, I don't know, a few years back, 4 shows. And I got the chance to escort a listener and his girlfriend down to the meeting area, and Garth and Tricia came in, and he and Tricia just gave us their time. There was zero pressure. There were no handlers saying, "Oh, Garth, we got to go." He was just super nice. Lots of chit chat, lots of photos. He asked about us. But I met Sam Walton many, many years ago when I worked in Kentucky, the founder of Walmart. He's now deceased. And I did an interview, and I just had no idea at the time, I was so green, how big that was. They were opening like 4 Walmarts or something in the country at the same time. And I guess,
how many did they have?
Well, I don't know now. Yeah. So, but I guess apparently he used to go to the grand openings because he was Sam Walton, and if this was your baby, you launched it. So it's like, hey, Sam Walton has flown into town, and you get to do an interview with him live on the air. And I'm like, oh, cool. All right. So I interviewed him. And then when we were done, he was like, hey, thanks a lot. He said something like, I got to go pee now, or something like that.
So now years later, you realize that he was
down to earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super down to earth. Yeah. He just had casual clothes on, and he's not a very big man. And when he was done, he had to use the restroom. But, it's pretty cool to say I met Sam Walton. But
so today, June 17th, comes an end of a
yes.
period.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself doing next?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
And I know just in the last week and a half, people have asked you that question. I mean, I can hear you when you're on your phone or you're coming out of a conversation with someone.
Yep.
That is that question. And I'll just tie in with it. Are you planning to stay in the area? Are you going to move?
I don't know. Let me talk to my wife.
Well, you know what your wife thinks.
Well, my wife thinks keep my eyes open. That's all. That's what you keep saying, and that's what you say more than I do. But
The opportunity and growth is just huge from this point forward.
Well, the growth. I mean, you're always hopefully you're always growing, right? And being terminated while sad is our dog is sniffing the microphone, so she's on my lap. Oops. All right. So there's growth. I mean, I've grown over the past couple of years, and I'm a couple of weeks. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form. You went down now? Okay, we're doing an interview here. Okay, this is supposed to be a dog-free studio. So what's next? I don't know, but I like doing this, and so sitting down, Zooming with people, local community leaders and friends that I've met over the years of all varieties, former listeners. You know, I've got lots of people that have commented on my Facebook page that I would just like to maybe call a couple of them and say, hey, I miss you, and I know you miss me, and tell me about you. But I just like talking to people, and so I see myself on a microphone, but I don't know where just yet.
Okay.
But as my wife says, let's keep our eyes open for whatever.
So will your next, if you do move, if you moved out of the area.
I didn't say anything about moving.
But if you do, if you were staying in the area, moving the area, is there a lifestyle change in there, or? Because your days now are quite full.
Yeah.
Or
were
quite full.
I don't know about a lifestyle change. Like, that depends on what I end up doing. So, I mean, I write for my content company, and there's hours of the day that go into that. So, but as far as a lifestyle change, I guess that's a broad. That's a broad question that is also narrowly defined by wherever you are. If we stay here, and right now we plan to stay here, we have no plans to do anything other than just keep our eyes open. But if we stay here, then the lifestyle changes dependent on where I land next, what I decide I want to do next.
I have one more question.
That's it? You only have one? You have my undivided
But I have questions all day long.
I mean, this is, I'm not giving any more interviews. This is it. This is my final interview.
We'll see.
Oh.
Okay. So, who's your morning girl? Darby or me?
Oh, you. Well, she would say her because, the dog is like, she's all about her in the morning. She immediately wants to go for a walk, play ball, go for a ride.
And this is a confusing time for her because
Yes.
usually when you leave in the morning, by 3:30, she's already moved to that side of the bed, and that's her pillow. So.
But I'm getting up, I'm getting up now at 4:30 or 5, so she can still do that. But you're my morning girl.
There you
We go for walks. You make me coffee, and but you give me, I'm working, so I want to give you your time too because you've got your morning routine. People need that, you have to have that time to catch up on your own email and watch your favorite news program or listen to whatever, and so
change. We just welcome the change because
well, sure,
have,
we're still trying to figure things out,
right?
Aren't we?
Yeah. Change.
Yeah. Am I in your hair?
No, but we're good at adapting to change. We've had change.
Yeah. And if we're not and we say something stupid, we hit the dump button.
Well, we usually use the word dumbass.
In a joking way, though.
Exactly.
All right, you have to explain that.
Exactly.
Because, and I don't remember the origin of that.
Well, it was some smart comments.
Oh, it was like
I
think you said something in such a way
and then
that the only word missing was like you said something to me kind of sarcastically, and I said the only word missing in that at the end of that was the word dumbass.
And that's like the first year we were married.
Yeah, that was so it was like anytime you or I would say something in a smart.
So it's been dubbed as the dumbass.
Yes, but in a
very fun, loving
dumbass way.
Right.
Very
right. I'm done. I have things to do today. What about you?
I've got stuff to do. I know I have to mow the lawn. We know that. So
you know what you're really liking about the retirement?
what am I really liking?
Yeah. Mowing the lawn.
Well, I did that anyway. I don't know what I mean, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. It's not even been 2 weeks. So I still have my fingers in the industry because I'm writing content and I'm emailing other people in the industry and dealing with my business. And that's great. And I'm grateful for that because a lot of people, most people, they lose their job and everything is gone. Not everybody, but you know, but if, you know, just to give an example, if you're a university educator and your field of expertise is whatever it is, you're still a part of groups, online groups, and you still have contacts that you're talking with. But I think a lot of people, when they lose their job, that's it. They're done. They're cut off.
Well, and we had been sitting down on a regular basis knowing that this time was probably closer than what we really wanted to
Our eyes were
admit.
open to the
Right.
possibility.
And so we've been looking at that. But the other thing is that we were so grateful that when the pandemic hit and shelter in place, you were still going in. So understanding those that couldn't go in to an office every day, we were just grateful that you were able to do that.
We already had, because we're caregivers, and so you're home all the time, and I would get home before noon most certainly, and so we were always in sort of that
Shelter in place,
work from home. I mean, we had lives,
Right.
We went and did things, and we had
Right.
dinners and
Right.
friends and stuff like that, depending on the schedules. But we were kind of used to this always being around each other as a family thing, and so a lot of people have had to adjust, and I don't know how some people do it because they have to work from home. They've got
Homeschool.
kids. They're homeschooling. Another parent actually goes to work, perhaps, or maybe they're both home and they have to juggle it, and that's still to some extent going on. But our eyes are open, and we're still trying to figure things out. But we're grateful for everything that we have, and we have a lot, and we have each other. And, my time is up. I'm sorry. I have another interview scheduled, so I have to go.
No, I
But
do.
You have another because somebody, you gotta
scheduled.
That's right.
I have to go to the lot.
Yeah. All right. Deb has a garden plot, so she's going to go interview her tomato plants. And what would you ask those tomato plants? What was the first question? How was your night?
Exactly.
Did you get eaten by a rabbit?
Well, it wouldn't be a rabbit, it'd be a squirrel.
A squirrel. Oh, yeah, because you have fencing around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your gardens, plural, are beautiful.
Yeah.
And I am honored. I am honored to be the muscle.
You were the muscle. Especially
Still
on the
am,
second one.
but especially the second one. But yep, and I can't wait to eat the veggies.
There you go.
Okay, it's been good talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.